Welcome back to The Grind. In this video, we are going to talk about the Act 7.2 quest number 2 path with the Oscillate node, as well as Footloose and the weak link. So the idea here is to have the class advantage in each of the fights, and the fights are Mystic and Cosmic champions, so you want to bring in Science and Mystic champions. So Captain America Infinity War is one of the best options for this lane because you can have the class advantage for half the fights, as well as you don't have to worry about the unstoppable buffs. As long as you have a kinetic charge, you will be able to cancel that unstoppable buff. And so Captain America Infinity War works fantastic for this lane. And since I recently acquired a 6-star and took him to rank 3, I decided to take him as well as my 5-star in and just rely on the Captain America Infinity War for most of the fights. I also brought Immortal Abomination just to try him out as well. But as you can see here, every time the opponent throws a special attack, they're going to get an evade charge and an unstoppable buff. So you can get rid of the unstoppable buff with the kinetic charges, but the evade will stay there. So you still want to maintain your parry heavy style. And then with the Oscillate node, they switch between being very defensive and having a lot of armor to having a lot of attack and being very aggressive and defensive. So ideally, you want to save your damage for when they shift out of the defensive mode, and because as you can see there, I didn't do that, and so I didn't get much damage off of that special too. Now, currently, she's in the offensive mode, but I didn't have my damage, and then I went into counter without a kinetic charge, so you have to be careful that you're not going to try to get rid of the unstoppable buff without a kinetic charge. Here, we did it with the offensive mode, and we got a lot of damage at the end there. So that's kind of how you want to play it. You got to time things a little bit. You'll have to dance around the unstoppable and evade charges a little bit unless you have a way to deal with them. Now, for the cosmic matches, I brought in actually 2 Dr. Dooms because Dr. Doom can apply the stagger and prevent the Footloose node from doing anything. So that is a very handy way to get around the Footloose node, but you still have to kind of dance around the Oscillate node that goes back and forth between the armor up defensive phase and the aggressive offensive phase. Now, the downside to Dr. Doom for this fight is you can't get your damage with the incinerates because Red Goblin is immune, but that isn't too much of a problem. I skipped ahead a couple special 3s just in the interest of time, but now we've got 2 Furies. And we're building up. I accidentally took a hit there, but thankfully Dr. Doom is super tanky. Then I countered and went in with a special 2, and we don't get the incinerate, so we do have to finish off a little bit more of the damage there. And because I was running suicides at the time of this, I was sort of doing a modified Doom rotation to decrease the amount of times I threw special attacks. Now, the Sasquatch is one of the more annoying fights on this lane because of the regeneration at the end. Specifically, if you bring in a synergy to get the Petrify with Captain America Infinity War, which I believe is the cosmic champion, then you can get around that a lot more easily. Otherwise, you can just save up your damage for when he is in the offensive stage, so you can get as much damage off as possible. So you can see here, we build it up to a special 2, we throw it off, we get some good damage, and then we just attack in. And unfortunately, I messed up here, and that resulted in a combination of events that was very unfortunate. But because he's so defensive in this phase, I was able to chain on a bunch of heavy attacks. So I thought I was going to salvage it, but my mistake was I should have chained on my special 2 to one of my heavy attacks and then stun him and then continue to deal damage. But because I didn't, and I didn't even throw my special 3, he got his special 3 off. So I had to go in and finish it off with my other Captain America Infinity War. Now, Vision Arcus is one of my least favorite champions to fight. I typically bring in my Awakened Dr. Doom and just try to steal a bunch of power, keep nullifying his power gain buffs, and just keep stealing the power gain so that I can get up to special 3. So that's basically what I did in this fight. I continued to cycle special 3s, and we're not going to watch it all because it's kind of long and tedious, but you can see the goal is to just continue siphoning power as much as possible, preventing him from going to a special 3, but I do fall behind on the power gains a little bit, so I should have been throwing more special 1s, and this is going to get me into a predicament a little bit later. But as you can see, the rotation I'm doing after the special 3 is I do a light, dash back, go in for a medium, and then light, and just steal a bunch of the power, and it gets me pretty close to the special 3 pretty quickly. And then I believe it's after this, I kind of get a little bit worried, and I try to dash in and counter him because he was getting close to 3 bars of power, and he threw off his special 2, and so I died. So I just finished it off with my other Dr. Doom. And this fight, I came in with a Mortal Abomination, and the idea being that when he goes into the defensive phase, I still have the potential to be unblockable, so I can push through it. But unfortunately, I made some mistakes and ended up dying a bit early in this fight, unfortunately. The other thing to note about one of the nodes here is if there is a weakness on the opponent, you're going to get some additional burst damage. You can see every hit is giving us some red damage, about 1100 damage with each hit. And so that's something that can be beneficial to help a little bit, especially during the defensive phase. You get a little bit extra damage, but it really isn't that significant. So it's not something you have to worry about too much, but it will be helping out with the damage a little bit. So this last fight with Symbiote Spider-Man, Dr. Doom is decent against as well because he can control the power and prevent him from throwing special attacks, so he won't even get the evade charges, as well as the staggers, as we mentioned, to prevent the unstoppable buffs and evade charges. But the other thing about this is when they have the evade, if you start your combo with a parry, then you have a shock applied to them after the first medium attack. You can get a few hits off during the stun, and then you can chain on your heavy after the stun ends, so you can get a 4-hit combo in despite the evade charge being active. So let me know what champions you used, how this lane went for you. I do hope this video was helpful, even though it was a bit rough for me, but good luck, and I hope to see you in the next video.